teens and young children lured away and sold into sex. It happens right here in West Michigan. Michigan State Police say they've seen a significant increase in sex trafficking crimes. News Channel 3's Rachel Glaser spoke today with experts about what can be done to stop traffickers and how misconceptions and misinformation are hurting the real victims.
Well, we see it often. People feel they're being followed in a store and then go online with good intentions to warn of sex traffickers. But people who work with survivors and investigate the crimes tell us that's just not how it happens. And continuing that narrative of what trafficking looks like in the movies is keeping real victims in the dark. A boy on Instagram. Let's call him Brad. That's not his real name, but he is a real 16-year-old boy whose Instagram account was introduced to Scott Jenkins' daughter by a friend.
I was like, wait, something's wrong.
12-year-old Haley became increasingly secretive, so Jenkins snuck into her room while she slept to scour his daughter's social media accounts. What he read, Jenkins says, looked like typical teenage flirting.
I had no idea that it was a planned process to lure young girls. That's when it really hit me.
Sex traffickers use fake accounts to insert themselves into friend groups online. They use kids to recruit other children, sometimes without their knowledge.
They will groom them and talk to them and pretend like they care for them for however long it takes. And once they gain the child's trust, then the game begins.
Jolene Hardesty is the Missing Children's Clearinghouse manager with Michigan State Police. She says traffickers use technology to take children.
Your child is more likely to be exposed to sex trafficking or be propositioned from your couch, from their bedroom, versus being abducted off the street.
Traffickers target the most vulnerable and lonely kids, showering them with attention, affection, gifts, and promises of a better life.
You want to make some extra money this weekend? Hey, you want to come party with me?
Hardesty says investigators now see the recruitment process spreading from social media into Michigan schools, where students, current victims, act as scouts for traffickers.
If I can recruit 2 or 3 more girls, maybe then I don't have to do the work anymore.
According to MSP, the most common age range for sex trafficking victims is 13 to 16 years old.
These kids are going missing completely under the radar. They still go to school every day. They come home sometimes at night, sometimes they're not at home. We've had straight A students that were being trafficked, and parents had no idea.
It certainly happens in Kalamazoo.
Jessica Glenn is the Director of Law and Policy at the YWCA. Since 2016, she's worked with 60 sex trafficking survivors. Glenn says of the 200 cases she's worked over the last decade, none of those survivors were abducted from a public place. Glenn says warnings of suspicious people at stores posted to social media mask how sex traffickers actually victimize kids.
We have to get human trafficking right, because if we don't, then those who are truly victims of human trafficking will never reach safety.
Instead of looking for perceived predators, she stresses the importance of looking for victims.
Nicer clothes and items they know they couldn't have afforded, right? Or their parents could not have purchased for them. And that should raise red flags.
It was just frightening that they were leaders, so to say, of a group of people that were trying to lure in 12-year-old, 13-year-old girls.
Now 17, Haley didn't go meet up with Brad and his friends like she planned because her dad intervened.
I definitely wouldn't be here right now if I would have met up with him.
A thought that still makes Jenkins emotional 5 years later.
Mostly anger that this is still happening. I mean, this happens every day. People need to be aware that this happens here.
The FBI ranks Michigan 10th in the nation for sex trafficking, but experts say numbers don't tell the full story because it's seriously underreported. They also tell us there's no research to suggest our location here along I-94 between Chicago and Detroit near an international border makes Southwest Michigan more susceptible to sex trafficking, which is another common misconception. In the studio, I'm Rachel